And good Thursday morning. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. I may have made a mistake yesterday and said it was Thursday. If so, this is not what was that show that Bill Murray was in, Groundhog Day. I made a mistake yesterday if I said that. Thursday, right now 68 as we wait for a high of about 90 degrees today. A warm day in store for us. We're going to get into the severe weather of what the threat is. It's been downgraded. That's the good news for us. We'll look at all of that. The chances come in late overnight into the early morning, but it's been downgraded to a level 1. So we're not anywhere near we were at the threat. And we'll show you where that risk picks up just to the east of the Meridian area, who needs to be concerned. And we'll get into all of that this morning. How are you? Glad to see so many folks up and going at them. Ralph Fortenberry, how are you? Janice Bound, I see Mike Dallas, Eugenia Walden, Little Rock watching this morning. Carthage, James Sullivan. Always nice to go through Carthage. Great area there. Also, Miss Claudine Baskin, many others. Good to see y'all up and at 'em today. Joyce Gressett, I see you. As we start looking at headlines of what has gone on over the area, I did get a note of a structure fire last night in the Meridian area, the 500 block of 22nd Street. It was a structure fire there. Hope everything is well. As we turn to this morning, one of the first things that we found out, there was a wreck just a little bit ago. This was on, let's pull this up so you can see this. This was on 5th Street near 40th Avenue. A light pole was taken out. Let's get that in where you can see that a little bit better there on the screen. There's the light pole where it was clipped. It looks to be a pickup truck involved in that. As we do this, I believe in the end there was possibly another car involved with this also. But took the tire off of that. Pretty serious there. That's going to be late for work now. Light poles. Don't know how that accident occurred, but that did. If you're going to be in the area there are power lines down with that pole being clipped. So avoid that area if possible and go around that. Now, two things went on yesterday, and let's start out. Let me jump over here so we can take a look at this. This was the breaking news that we had yesterday. Let's pull this up. She's been looked for. Shelia Powe is in custody now. She turned herself into the Meridian Police Department yesterday. She had a manslaughter and culpable negligence charge against her. Her bond is set at $1 million. We'll find out if that's been met yet or not. It's very possible. We'll see if she's gotten out. A couple of things on that. We started getting notes yesterday of what's going on in the area. This is one of the things. This is one of the homes that she owned there in town, to where they care for the elderly and whatnot. Meridian Fire Department was there, Meridian Police Department, and also looked like investigators. The Meridian Police Department is not giving a statement on that yet. I called and asked, and they said they would provide that at a later time. Those on the scene tell me that a lot of computers were seized from the property and taken in what looked to be the CID division of the Meridian Police Department. There will be more to follow on this, and I've also got reports that other properties also had a large police presence where they were going in. Kind of leans toward possibly search warrants. We don't have that for fact, but that's what it looks like. We'll wait to see what the Meridian Police Department tells us on all of that. That's been one of the biggest cases. And if you're wondering, okay, I'm not caught up on what you're talking about. An elderly lady a few weeks ago on April the 22nd was found in a home that cares for the elderly. She had been passed away for over a week before the authorities were called. After the investigation and autopsy was performed, it was discovered that she died of blunt force trauma, which means in the end that she was murdered by someone. Could it have been by someone that didn't know what they were doing? Absolutely. But the lady that has been charged with manslaughter owns the property in connection with all of that. This will head to court. As always, with the U.S., you're innocent until proven guilty. We'll see what happens. This is on a lot of people's mind in our community. One thing that gets people ill, or two things. Let me back that up as two things. It's children and the elderly. You don't want either of these mistreated. We'll find out what the court has to say on this as we see the first arrest. Could there be more? Possibly. We'll see what the Meridian Police Department has to add to this story. Another big item that happened yesterday, if you were trying to get to downtown, it was shut down. You couldn't get in at the 22nd Avenue Bridge there at A Street on that side, and then it became a 2-block perimeter of the 22nd Avenue Bridge right by the Max. As we pulled this up for you to take a look, it was at the Castle Building. A gas line was struck out front by what I understand to be a work crew. Atmos Energy had to be called in, and they had to turn the gas off to downtown. A large smell of gas throughout the downtown area, and for precautionary reasons, as always, anything can spark something when it deals with gas. They shut the area down until that was fixed and repaired. All of that is well today. You can ease through the downtown area without any troubles, as it's all fixed and back to normal now. Thank goodness no one was hurt on something like that. You never can tell. What was that not long ago? We had that gas spill out by the tankers, and they had to shut down areas there for a while. But all is well. And boy, you want to talk about an accident. There's two things that went on yesterday. And if you'll know where I'm talking, if you're coming from Bonita Lakes Mall up on top of the hill, and you take that left there by the Dollar Tree to cut over to where Lowe's and Walmart is, that's referred to a lot of times as the back end of that street is Virginia Drive, and you get to that three-way to where no one knows what to do. Who goes? It's always, you know that. You get there, it just needs to be a stop sign, I think, for everybody, and we'd all understand. But there was an accident there. It was a two-part accident, and as we learned, we thought it was several accidents, and what it ended up being a car wreck followed by a homeless person, for what I'm understanding, and I'll describe him that way. Do I know he was homeless for bet my life on it? No, but it was described at the scene as possibly a homeless person had a stroke on the edge of the road and was lying there. As people began to notice, they got in touch with the police officer who was handling the wreck. Metro was called in. And this is the look at the scene of what was going on there. He was taken to an area hospital, and I know back and forth people were talking of why didn't others stop. It was a traffic jam there. It was reported to police immediately, and they got in the process of getting Metro. But this is the scene of the wreck. I believe someone may have accidentally run that stop sign as we look at this. It was a big fender bender there. Metro was called to the scene, and that happens. Be careful as you're out about. Meridian yesterday was plagued with auto accidents. They were all over town. And let me just see if I can quickly glance at some of these areas that had these yesterday. It was just boom, 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 one after another. I kept getting texts from all over town that there was more accidents as we began our day. Hopefully today it'll calm down. We won't get into any more of that. I was scrolling down to see what I could find because I know I posted a heap of them yesterday. Here was one, Highway 19 North at 65th Avenue. That was another wreck that happened yesterday, and that's going to be by Lee's Donut. We had one there. We had one on Highway 39 just past Johnson Toyota. Let's see here. We had that wreck, and it was 4 or 5 that I didn't even get to that were minor around town. So I urge you to be careful today as you go out because it could be a repeat of yesterday. It's the reason I bring that up. As we go to the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department, they've had a busy couple of days. You remember a day or so ago when we showed the pictures from the State Boulevard Druid Hills raid, where we had cop cars everywhere. A search warrant was issued. We've got 2 in custody from that as the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department released pictures. And here we go. As we've got Christy Hayes. She's been charged with one of 3 people with drug charges. As we look at this, trafficking in a controlled substance, felon in possession of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance weapon ×2, hold for outside agency. This gentleman was also in the same arrest at that location at State Boulevard. Trafficking in a controlled substance, felon in possession of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance, and weapons ×2, also held for an outside agency. His name is Jeremy Lovell. Both of these were from the State Boulevard area. Now, a couple of days before this, we also had Terry Gordon arrested by the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department. He was arrested on the charge of sale of a controlled substance ×2, $25,000 each. Possession of hydrocodone, that's pretty, and possession of drugs near a church or school ×3. That's $10,000 for each offense on that. The Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department's been busy arresting the bad guys and taking them off the street. So if you see the guys with the lights on, they've been doing a lot of investigating behind the scenes to put an end to all of this. Will there ever be an end? I'd like to say that it could be, but we all know that felons get a little bit smarter. They get a little bit trickier how they traffic drugs. We talk about gangs in the Meridian area. Are they here? Yes. Are a lot of them behind drugs? Yep, that's how they make money. We all know it's here. There's no reason to hide behind and say it doesn't exist. It is here. Always keep that in mind. As we go over to Newton County, this happened a little while back, but as Shad White's office releases the information, here's what we've got for you. This morning he announced that Henry Grunow has been convicted of embezzlement in Newton County Circuit Court. The case was prosecuted by the district attorney, Kilgore's office, in the courtroom there. He was arrested, and he's going to have to pay back over the $14,000 as they charge all the fees and everything. It ends up being about $29,000 a demand letter issued there. So there we go from there. Convicted of the $14,000 from the Veterans Cemetery. Bad place to be taking money from. Horrible. Newton County, when this happened, I'm sure, was shaken by this, without a doubt. Not something good there. Found guilty for embezzlement of over $14,000. I think he gets 2 years in jail for that. As we switch gears and we start looking at around the state, there's a lot going on with this. As we get more drugs off of the interstate, I-55, the Mississippi Highway Patrol pulled a car over that made a lane change. A little funny. It was a girl from California. She was 30 years old. She now gets to spend a little time in Mississippi. Not the vacation that she was planning, but she'll be here for quite a little while since she had 40 pounds of drugs. They've booked her in the Pike County Jail. She'll spend a little time with us here in Mississippi before she goes back to the Sunshine State there, where it's all surfboards and more. This is always a scare. Has this happened in the Meridian area before? It certainly has. As we move to Rankin County, what is just west of here, we'll go over to take a look at Northwest Rankin High School. They had a little scare this week where a student was found with a gun. No one was hurt, but still scary as they investigate there. They'll find out who, what, and why, and see who's at fault for the child having the gun at it. Now, there's two parts to this. As each day we see more and more of this, regardless whether you're a Republican or if you're a Democrat or maybe you're an independent voter. It doesn't matter. Whatever side of the aisle that you're on, how you vote, whatever goes on behind closed doors, whether it's the president, it's Congress, or the Supreme Court, does not need to be leaked. They have private information, and it's private because we don't need other countries finding out our business. And when information starts getting leaked, it's bad. We saw that so much during the Trump presidency. Maybe you didn't like him. Maybe you loved him. But whatever he was doing, it didn't need to be leaked. That was naughty. As we see this week, the Supreme Court, all of this, the ruling that possibly could be coming up about abortion. And we've got to remember that this is not final. This is just some notes that somebody got and leaked out of their thoughts. It may or may not be true. Now, the document is true without a doubt, but they haven't ruled on it. And again, even with the rulement, if this stands, it will give the states, each state, all 50 states, the right to choose whether you want abortion or not in your state. If that does happen, Mississippi's only abortion clinic would close, and they say most likely it would be moved over to California. It would shut down and move out of the state. At the last count I got, it would be about 26 states that would outlaw it. But you would still, if you feel that you wanted to do that, you would still have the right in the United States to go to a state that does do it. Mississippi just would not be one of those. This morning, one of the breaking news headlines of across America is, this is how bad things have gotten. Free speech is almost out the window. They're having to erect fences this morning around the U.S. Supreme Court because of people protesting. And we know how the protesting turned out last time. Do we think that people can slip people into the crowd to cause more trouble? Absolutely. But we're watching that. Fox News broke the story right at daylight of the fences going up. You remember how the U.S. Capitol looked? That's what's going on this morning as we look across the nation. We go back to Jackson this week. Y'all remember the story of the Mudbug Festival, where we're talking about you need to be careful at any event that you go to. It's just gotten outrageous, especially if you go toward the Jackson area. We hadn't had any trouble on the east side of Mississippi, but the west side of the state of Mississippi, the Mudbug Festival, where one was killed, 5 was injured. We see now that the coroner has released details of this, and it was a teenager that was killed. He was identified as Carmelo Brumfield. JTV is reporting that he was possibly part of the shooting that took place there. Well, watch this. That's way too young to have things like this going on. Shooting, drive-bys, into crowds. That place was packed. A teenager involved in all that. And it was several other teenagers that were arrested with connection to that. We have this is all leading up to something as we talk about what's going on in the state of Mississippi. This morning, we also find out West Point, which is due north of the Meridian area in the state, we have 4 teens that are now facing capital murder for back in March. Teens. It gets worse and worse and worse as we look at this. They found a gentleman in the ditch. He was a 41-year-old man. His name was Mikhail Craven. They've arrested a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old, another 17-year-old, and a 15-year-old for his murder. He was dumped in the ditch. All teenagers. How do you fix this? Well, it all starts at home. That's the first step. Now, maybe Meridian area needs to do this as we go to Columbus. What are they doing? They've enacted, and maybe this would be good, they've enacted a curfew for minors. You can't be out late. Maybe that's what needs to happen here as they try to, is the term, nip it in the bud. We'll see how that works for Columbus if we start seeing the crime go down. But that's what's going on in Columbus this morning as we look around the state for news that is happening. This next thing, I don't care who you are, what state you're in, thieves are everywhere. And this seems to be the most sought after thing in America today is the catalytic converters. We had a lady that was moving. She was in a U-Haul van. She was tired. She pulled over to sleep. She wakes up with 2 individuals underneath her U-Haul trying to cut the catalytic converter out. She was quiet and called police. They are now in custody. That was on I-55 in Mississippi. It just shocks you as to what goes on and what people will try. It does. This is another commonly thing. We see this area a few months back, if you will remember, over in Jackson, the Raymond Detention Center. You remember when the lady, we had somebody that was shot, that was shooting at each other outside the detention center? We've got 4 arrested today as they were trying to smuggle drugs inside of the Raymond Detention Center. Now, they were all in their mostly 20, 23 years old. One of them was 27, but for the most part, young adults trying to do this. They're all smiling. They'll get to spend a little time on the inside now. Sad. Let's see what else we got going on. And someone correct me. If you're watching, I would like to know if you know about this. Today is National Day of Prayer. And I have not seen anything from our area as we used to gather. What was it, at Dumont Plaza? Each little community that we have would have some type of a meeting around noon for a moment of silence. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's happened and I just was not made aware of it. Now, last year, the last 2 years, things were kind of interrupted because of COVID and everything had to be done kind of virtual. But does anyone know if we're having this in our area today anywhere? It is National Day of Prayer, and I do hope that you get a chance to celebrate that in some shape, form, or way. Very strong message that has been sent out of that. Denise says she hasn't heard anything. But if you have, please correct me if I'm wrong. I double-checked City Hall, and I glanced. I even Googled, and I didn't see it this morning before we went on. All right, I'm finding Philadelphia. Charlotte Gray says that Philadelphia will have it at lunch at the park. Okay, all right, City Hall. Okay, I just didn't know about it. City Hall at 12 noon. Thank goodness. I'm tickled for that. I just wish it was put out a little bit better there. So now we know. City Hall at 12 o'clock today. National Day of Prayer. Hope you can celebrate this. Whether you're in a city or not, take a moment and bow your head and remember what we're all here for. Makes a difference. It really does. As we mentioned, that big fence as I'm looking around here. Also, Dallas Cowboys. Jerry, the owner, Jerry Jones, was in a minor accident yesterday. He was rushed to the hospital. He's going to be okay. Jerry's 79. His family says he's resting at the house. Everything's going to be okay. As we look at this is a big lawsuit that's coming, and I can't say I disagree with this guy. We've brought him up before. Do you remember the guy that had a computer brought to him and he goes, whoa, there's private information on here. It's Hunter Biden. He's suing now. He's suing Adam Schiff. He's suing CNN, all for $1 million because they called him a Russian stooge and he said he wasn't. He tries to straighten that out. It's just gotten to where the media, in so many cases, if they don't like you or don't like the narrative of what you're trying to say, they just say what they want. On a big scale, that's not good. We'll see how that court will watch that as it comes out. We're also waiting to see what happens with other cases like this. Nationwide is starting to be some retaliation for people that say the wrong things on purpose, not someone that makes a mistake and goes, well, I made a mistake and corrects it. But they went after that guy, ruined his business. He had to close it. That was a bad deal. On the way, what's happening with the weather? We've got that next. We'll find out just how serious the weather is going to be. We're going to show you the boundaries of where we've got the light chance of severe weather and the upgrade of severe weather. Moving my hands too much today, aren't I? It's a southern thing. You just can't talk without your hands. If you tied me down here, I guess I'd be in a bad shape. But we'll look at your forecast next. Don't rush off. We'll get that up next here in just a moment. The Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville is passing along these great savings this week. Bacon potatoes, only 79 cents a pound. Navel oranges, 4-pound bag, only $5.99. Country Crock spread margarine, 15-ounce bowl, 2 for $5. Coca-Cola 12-pack, 12-ounce cans, 2 for $11. Twin-pack pork Boston butt, $1.79 a pound. Certified Angus beef T-bone steaks family pack, $11.49 a pound.
And we're down home, down the street, Piggly Wiggly.
H&H Residential of Meridian is your #1 carpet and flooring store. If you've been thinking of a new look for your home or office, call for a free estimate or consultation. H&H can install or you can do it yourself. H&H has all of your design needs from color, style, and texture. If you can dream it, H&H can make it a reality. Come see the large selection of hardwood flooring, laminate, vinyl, and even carpet. H&H Residential of Meridian, open Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, 321 Hawkins Crossing Road. Call Rosemary anytime, 601-462-9541.
As we go to comments, Pamela Franklin pointed out the media and politicians have got to stop labeling people in situations before they know the facts. We see that all too much in the nation these days. They jump to conclusions without really investigating. You remember back in the day when they used to really investigate things before they wrote that first story and say, well, this is what we know, and left it for you to decide. Well, that's things have changed so much there. All right, let's first start with today of what's going to happen tonight, of what we show with severe weather. Let's go to our map here and start out here. Then we'll get into the forecast so you'll know. As we pull this up this morning, here we go. Let me put this on here where it's more visible. All of this green, which is going to be our area on the east side of the state of Mississippi, is a level 1. All of this begins over 9 hours. The level 2, as you'll see, picks up at Vicksburg. This is a bigger picture now. This is where tornadic activity is going to be pretty rough tonight. This is going to start in Waco, Texas, take in Lufkin, Shreveport, Texarkana, all the way up to Conway, Arkansas. Those areas will most likely see the worst of the weather. Now, this stretch of from Monroe to Vicksburg will also see a chance of severe weather, including tornadoes in that area up to Jackson, Tennessee, even up to Murfreesboro, Nashville, Paducah, those areas. As we zoom in on this, let's take a look at the state of Mississippi of what we've got here. As we look at our line comes in at Vicksburg. This will move up through Yazoo City. We see all of that. Up through Goodman, Durant, west of there. All of that area west of here, Winona, Duck Hill. We've had that brought up several times of folks watching Duck Hill. Y'all got some severe weather tonight. As we look at this and take it in Oxford, all the way up to Holly Springs, and then on into the state of Tennessee as we look at that. That's the area that we've got that is a level 2 tonight. Again, East Mississippi over to Tuscaloosa is a level 1. It means we could get some heavy winds is what we're looking for tonight. Now, let's look at this as daylight breaks. let's look at what happens tomorrow. This is going to be a change. At first, we were going to get the worst of our weather tomorrow morning. This has changed over the last 24 hours, as always with weather, how Mother Nature does change. We see now that East Mississippi is going to be a level 1 even into the morning hours when we thought it could possibly get worse here. As we see this area stretching from Macomb and moving across through Lauderdale County and east of Philadelphia and taking in Kemper, that's a level 1. Again, we could have some high winds in Hattiesburg. Now, as we go to the east of us, let's zoom in on this and look at this. Mobile, all of the folks down in Navarre, Destin, Panama City, these areas here, and taking in all of Montgomery, Gadsden, Alabama, and east of Birmingham. Let's move in on this. This is where the worst of it. If you're watching us from Alabama this morning, Meadowbrook area, Leeds, Alabama. As you follow this line down from Centerville, you get here to Marion, Uniontown, Alabama. Y'all know where that is, that one stop sign there. Y'all are going to have some rough weather there later. Thomaston, Alabama, Thomasville, Coffeyville, Millery, and Chatham, these areas here are expected to be a level 2 tonight. And as we back out and you look at this, this will go all the way over to Georgia and the Carolinas for tomorrow. So what we thought the Meridian area was going to be pretty horrific there for a little while, of the possibility, it is downgraded. We're thankful for that. It's moved a little bit east of us. Now, I remind you, it's Mother Nature. As this storm approaches, I'll be updating and watching this closely to make sure this doesn't change. It is Mother Nature, and things can be. But right now, things are looking good. Kind of like that. Let's talk about fog a second here this morning as we begin this. We don't want you to get out there if you're especially south of Meridian is where the most of this is going to be happening. As we pull back up radar this morning, here's our fog, what we're looking at. The line comes across, and I'll show you what the National Weather Service says in a moment, but that line is going to be south of I-20, and we're starting to see it now in McGee, over here west of us, Montrose, Highway 15 out of Newton. Y'all have already got it starting at Lewin. Heavier back over here toward Polkville and McGee and these areas there. But we've also gotten the Laurel, Hattiesburg, south of Shibuda area there, dense fog advisory this morning. Gilberttown, Alabama, Highway 17 south of Butler, Alabama. If you're watching me from there, y'all got some fog. The further east, as we talked about this area a while ago of severe weather, Thomasville, it is thick, thick fog for you today. Y'all be careful if you've got to do this. And further south, you go down here around Poplarville, Purvis, Mississippi, even down to Bogalusa. This area here now just above Mobile, look at that. All of that has got thick fog where you can barely see today. Be careful in those areas. And always, if you're just south of Meridian, leave a little bit early today. Calculate that into what you've got to do. Now, as we look at what the National Weather Service is telling us, let's just do a quick run through this so you'll know, and we'll all be on the same page. Today, we go back for 1952. Our record high was 94 degrees. We're getting close to that, as we'll see 90 degrees today. Back in 2011, and can y'all believe that was 11 years ago? Whew, 39 degrees was the record low set back in 11. I promise you, 2011 doesn't seem 11 years ago. Afternoon showers, a possibility around Philadelphia, these areas here, Columbus, Mississippi. A chance there. Just a sprinkle. It's not much there. The Meridian area looks like it'll be 91. 90 in Philadelphia. Mostly sunny in those areas, but a smidgen of a chance. As we look at this across the state line, Demopolis, Livingston, Alabama, 90 degrees as well. Over in Auburn, y'all get 90 as well. As we look here, this is what we're talking about on the dense fog. All this area south of Meridian, including Clark, Jasper County, and heavier, as we saw that in the Laurel, Hattiesburg area for fog this morning. As we jump ahead, here's those timelines of that level 1 for the Meridian area as we looked at that from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. right there. 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. west of us for this area right here from Greenwood. So, again, it's looking better for us. And this is that line that we just looked at here for tomorrow. Our area there, all east of the Meridian area, a level 1 for our area, which means we could get some heavy winds up to about 60 miles an hour. We'll watch that with some thunderstorm activity that rolls through, but we're not in that worser area that we could be in. As we look at this, Alabama, this is what it's going to look like tonight from 7 p.m. until 2 a.m. That area there around Hamilton. And we go to tomorrow, the same thing we just looked at on the big map there as you look at all of this. Going to be east of Demopolis all the way over to Georgia. As we look at temperatures above average, it's hot. Look at that. We'll see that as we look at our 7-day forecast. 89 to 90 scheduled for today. We'll get down to 66 tonight. We'll end the week with a 60% chance of rain tomorrow. We will get the rain. It's coming in after midnight as we get into all of this and forecast out. Wow. Won't be bad at all as we get ready for the weekend. Great weather in store for us with a high of about 86, 87 on Saturday, but it will be gusty with 20-mile-an-hour gusts. Sunday, 91. Be a great day, but 0% chance of rain as we head off to church. Back to work on Monday, we'll go with a high of 92. And look at this, how we kind of hover in those 90s. Let's go ahead and jump another week in here, and we even get up to 93, 94 some of these days. I have seen this forecasted back and forth, even up to 95 as we go through May the 19th. It really makes the month sound like it's over when we're only at today being the 5th and we're looking at that far out. Let's look at our fishing forecast today, brought to you by Chet's Paint and Body as we get ready for this. First major time today was right there, ending about now. You'll get a second major time this afternoon around 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock to go fishing. Hope you'll get out and enjoy it. Ran a little late this morning. I apologize on that. Wanted to get in all the weather and the headlines of what's going on. We'll be back in 59 minutes. I'm looking at my clock now. Candace is coming in. We got special guest Brick Gully. Also, a lot of things of the play that's coming up. Jackie Jack White will join him as they bring the Jimmy Rogers play to town this weekend at the MCC. We'll see you back in, like I said, 59 minutes. Y'all join us for Scotty Ray and Candace as we kick into this day. Thank y'all so much for joining me.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners.